it's like you can't smile, right?
Who says that? Welcome to the School of Sales podcast. I'm here with Create with Kate in Las Vegas, baby. And this girl is so special. She is so amazing at asking questions. And she interviewed me. We got to talk a little bit about content, all about sales, motherhood, and really what it takes to be able to be that entrepreneur, go after for what's in your heart, and also be the amazing mom that you're created to be. I'm so excited and hope you enjoy.
I want to start, since I've been following you for a long time, I want to kind of tell your story from the beginning.
Okay.
So how did this start with you and Kat and then your dad? Or was it you and your dad and then Kat?
Yeah.
Like, can you kind of tell us
100%.
that story?
So I grew up in what I like to call a sales cultured home.
Okay.
And my dad was an entrepreneur his whole life. He grew up very, very poor, became a teacher, and just knew he had to break out of what he calls like four cinder, the teacher or the school walls where the square cinder blocks all the way around. Like he was like, that was like my prison. Jail. That was my jail. I had to get out. And so he started trying all these different things, but someone told him, you've got to go get sales skills. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he did. And he found insurance at the time. He was like, okay, the insurance is the one business that I see other people doing and it working. So if it's working for them, it can work for me. And as long as I can sell, I can make it work. And those sales skills changed everything for him.
Wow.
And that...
Now, how old was he at this point?
My sister was probably about 2 or 3 years old.
So he was married with children.
Married with kids.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a teacher married with kids.
Wow.
So he didn't start his business till he was like in his 30s.
Okay.
But those sales skills changed his life so much that ever since I was in high school, he has been preaching to me, you've got to learn how to sell.
Now, did that bother you as a kid?
100%.
Like,
I'm like, Dad, you are not cool.
Yeah,
Like, you're
right.
you're old.
Kids don't want to hear
100%.
Yeah.
But he did not let up.
Okay.
We would bring our boyfriends home for like a dinner, and he would play like Dale Carnegie on the speakers.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
He would be like, nobody talk. Like, I'm making this amazing steak dinner. Yeah. Sit down, eat, and listen to this.
So it was like a motivational dinner.
It was just like when I look back and think about it, it was like, if I can just give you these sales skills, you will be okay.
Yeah, and he just wanted to
plant
that seed
and
like
I
really
can
put
know
it in
that
there.
if something would happen to me or what, like, you girls would be okay because you could add value anywhere. He would bring a projector to our beach trip with workbooks.
Do you know?
I'm not even kidding you.
I'm laughing inside because so we were just talking about this other day about workbooks. Somebody said, Kate, I think workbooks are your love language.
I love a workbook too.
I love a workbook.
The pretty pins on the workbook. It's a vibe for sure.
It is.
But he just knew. He was like, okay, well, I have you guys in this condo to myself. Yeah. You can't go anywhere. And of course, we resisted and fought all day long. Yeah. And then I was in ministry, and I liked it. It was good, and I had an itch, like a major itch to do something on my own. And so I started selling network marketing products, actually. And
now this was how old were you
at
this point?
I was married. It's 2000. I got married in 2015, and so this is probably like 2016.
So, but what were you doing career-wise?
I was in ministry.
That was the
my
career.
job.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Children's ministry.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. The money was not very much.
Yeah, but
my husband had just started in sales as well, and his first commission check was like $100.
Wow.
And I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I can't live it's a no for me.
Well, yeah, you have to.
And so he was kind of learning how to sell, and I was like, okay. And I remember just seeing people be like, you can live your life and just share your life and make so much money. And I'm just like, okay, well, I love to work out. Yeah. I can just share it and I can make money, so let me try. So I just shared like everything about my life all the time.
Okay.
On stories.
Let's pause there for a minute, because the way that you're saying that, it's like, oh, it sounds so effortless.
It's so like
right?
casual. Yeah. Like people will just like you and buy from you, right?
Yeah. And it can be, right?
100%.
But most people, like, as you're telling this story, what I'm hearing is like, you just had no fear.
Yeah.
You just were like, I'm just going to share.
Oh, no. I started an Instagram from scratch, and I made it private so no one could see me for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
no,
this is
I
what
was
I
sick
want
to my
the viewers to hear.
Because
they
Angel, it's a no
so
for me.
Afraid to
sick
put
to my
themselves
stomach.
out there.
Sick to my stomach.
Okay.
But I was so miserable.
That you were willing to do whatever.
I was so willing. Yeah. But I started over, and I did some reps, like knowing nobody could see it.
Okay.
And I still felt nervous.
Right.
Believe it or not.
And this was, you said 2016?
About 2016, yeah.
Okay.
2017. I really eased slowly but surely. It wasn't like a full on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I started just really playing with the idea of what that would potentially look like.
And it was just your workouts,
basically
documenting
products,
your day,
my life, my whole life. And you know, I started to get engagement, but it was about everything except for what I wanted it to be about.
Like
what is the paint color of your walls? Wow. Tell me about your makeup. Okay, how do you do your hair? Yeah. And I'm like, no, ask me about
my business,
what I'm selling.
Skills, yeah.
Right, please. Mm-hmm. And you know, my dad was watching me on Instagram, mm-hmm. my supporter. And I would actually go to their house a lot and work because I wanted a cool background, mm-hmm. and their house was really pretty and my house was not so much. And he would listen to me and he'd say things like, Macy, you know, you're doing such a good job. Yeah. But can I give you a little feedback? Oh. And I'm like, sure. And he would say, you're just coming off like so ashamed of what you sell. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I never hear you directly talking about what you sell. Okay. And I was like, Dad, that's called curiosity marketing. Do you remember that? Yeah. Uh-huh. It's called curiosity marketing. You're like not supposed to talk about it. Right. Yeah. And he's like, okay, that's fine. But I just want you to know, like, it's coming off like you're ashamed of it. Mm. And when I like thought about it for a while, I'm like, okay, what if I did just kind of have a new relationship with the idea of selling? Okay. Like, what if I did? This. And I had my back up against the wall. I either had to go get another job or figure it out. Yeah. And so with my tail between my legs, I went to him. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm ready to learn. Yeah. I'm ready to learn. And he said, okay, under one condition, I'll teach you. Of course, now the ball's in his court. Mm-hmm. He's like, under one condition. He's like, you go all in. Yeah. I don't want you listening to another thing. I don't want you to watch another YouTube video. I don't want you to listen to any podcast. I want you to focus on this. Wow. And I said, okay.
I like him.
Yeah. Oh, he's intense in the right ways. Yeah. And so I'd go to his office every single day for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I sat beside him. And at the time, he had all these spreadsheets from the last 3 decades. Wow. All of his learning from the last 30 years. Just tab after tab after tab. And it was all like color coded. And I was trying love this. And I'm trying to read what he's reading. And so he would just kind of teach me something. We would practice. Mm-hmm. I would role play.
Oh, I love that.
And then I would go and do exactly what he told me to do. I call it in the wild, which is just Instagram stories and conversations. And Kate, when I say I was having so much fun, I was like, people started asking me about my offer and my products and my services. And the second I got a question, I would be like, hey, give me your phone number and I'll jump on a call. Yeah. Like, I couldn't wait to practice everything that I was learning. It was just, I was playing the game. I felt like I had the handbook of how to play the game of life.
Oh, your dad is incredible.
100%. Yeah.
And this is now what you sell.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So he
changed my life.
But he wasn't selling this at the time, right?
No.
This was
so
just
he had an
knowledge.
So he would train his staff.
Okay.
Every single year. His whole staff had to know how to sell. Okay. Whether you were service, whether you were a janitor, whether you like anything, you have to know how to sell, because he believes in a sales culture office where everybody can handle people's concerns. And
we believe in that too.
Sales value, like everybody can sell. So he was developing this training for his staff. Okay. And was teaching it to me. It was just super unorganized and like a mess. But what was so crazy, Kate, so for 6 months, I hardly even looked up. I just was doing what he told me to do, practice. And I'd made my first $10,000 month within 6 months. Now, it wasn't like it was, it eased up there.
That's pretty good.
But for making $35,000 in ministry, that about turned my life upside down. And what was so crazy is the actual actions that I took didn't change. Mm-hmm. It was just doing the same things with skill. Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to work harder. I don't have to do more. I just have to do it with skill.
In the habit of
Instagram. Oh, 100%.
It's just that you weren't, it was coming off like you were ashamed of your offer.
I was building the value of beliefs and ideas more than the offer. Yes. And then people started to get on board with the beliefs. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, wait, what is like the offer? Because I'm on board with what you believe.
This is really good. And I think this is, I can relate to this.
Really? 100%. Why do you say that?
Well, I think women, more so than men, we tend to be very inspirational, especially online.
And educational.
And we can get a lot of people behind our beliefs. And I'm all about sharing your beliefs. I think it's essential. But we have this fear of selling because it's too pushy or... I think that's kind of the vibe that women have. Like, oh, I don't want to be too much. So I'm just going to like share my beliefs and then they're going to be curious and then I'll sell. Yeah. 100%. So we don't want to put it out there. Yeah.
It's just so interesting. Like, so I could go off on that because when people sell to me, it helps me. Oh, let me give you an example. Do you mind if I give you an example?
Yeah, I love examples.
So Myron Golden is our coach, and we got on his challenge. Okay. And part of being on his challenge, you can do a platinum level ticket. It's like a $900 ticket, and he coaches you. And
for $900?
For one question.
Okay.
You get one question.
No way.
No, one question.
So you
okay.
better make sure it's good.
100%. Yeah. So, and I had known about his offers. I knew he had like a $27,000 one, a $55,000 one, a $350,000 offer, and then $1 million offer.
Oh, he's $1 million. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're looking at someone who bought it.
Oh, this is fabulous.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
So, but it started with a challenge. Okay. So I found this stuff on in August, and then in October I was on the challenge, and Kat was on the
August. October.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kat so
it hasn't quite been a year yet.
No, okay. Yeah. So we once he kind of like heard a little bit about our business, so when I saw the $350,000 offer, I had two thoughts. My first one was, that's not real. There's no way that's a real offer. I thought it was an anchor because you can price things really high so that they buy I was like, for sure that's an anchor. That was my first thought. And then my second thought was, if it is real, there's no way I belong. Like there's not a universe.
This is what you thought.
Oh yeah. I'm like, there's not a universe in which I belong. That like who there's no way. Right. There's no way. It's called the VIP offer, VIP day. And when we were on the challenge, we kind of told him a little bit about what's going on. And he said one thing that changed my life. He said, I've never told anybody this before on a challenge, but you need the VIP offer. He said, if you get the VIP offer, you will have between a $5 and $9 million a year next year. Wow. Okay. So that was really direct.
Very direct. Yeah.
And that statement transported me into a universe in which that was a world for me. Wow. That I could be a part of that group, that I could run with that crowd. Like in a dime, I was like, okay, if Myron Golden believes in me like that, I can believe in me like that.
Yeah. So and he doesn't just say, but that's not just, he's not just selling to anyone.
For sure.
I mean,
it's the right people.
Right.
But yes. But the thing is, like, so many women have offers that would transform people's lives.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I see people walking around in life and I'm like, their lives would change if they had what I have.
Yes.
And they think, oh, but I don't want to come off as pushy.
So it's selfish.
But I'm like, it's so selfish. And instead, I'm like, what have you thought about, like, the more offers that you sell, the more people will propel? Like, what have you thought about it beautiful. More like that? Yeah. And I like to tell people, Myron didn't offer me his offer. He offered me our future. Wow. Like, what if you could offer someone their future in a completely different light that they've never seen before? In that case, it's your duty and your obligation. The most selfish thing you can do is worry about how you come off. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. No, actually, nobody cares about you that much. They care about themselves and their own future. Yeah. And here's the thing. People's focus is like gravity, which means it is always naturally they are thinking, that room's not for me. Yeah. There's no way I could do that. Yeah. She's different than me. She's more special. She's got something I don't have. And it is your job and your duty to keep their focus up, which is you could have a $9 million year next year. Yeah. This is for you. You do belong here. You could have the body of your dreams. You could have the energy that you've never had before. Like, that is your duty, and that's offering someone their future. Your offer just happens to be the piece of that to get there. And if people just had this new paradigm shift of it is not about
huge,
you.
Though. I mean, that's...
Like, I'm so thankful that he made me the offer. That $350,000 offer, we wired the money. We went on a Thursday, got on a plane on a Sunday to go to Tampa. Okay. And then 2 weeks later, we actually made that investment back based on what we learned. 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later.
Now, that's pretty incredible.
It's insane. It's hard to wrap your mind around.
I'm struggling with my belief right now. I'm not going to lie.
It's mind-blowing. Yeah. But I will tell you, like, it was not easy.
What was the business already doing? Like, just for context.
1.3.
Okay. Yeah. So when you purchased it. Yeah. And then, but you instantly, within 2 weeks.
Yeah. So then the Q4 of last year, we did 1.5 million in the quarter, which is more than we've done in a whole year. And so that's when we were like,
that's insane.
If we did that, like, let's just do, and the royal family offer, I was like, push our chips in, period. Because there was just a few things that I was like, it makes sense.
Okay. So let's just for a second talk about what that looks like so you purchased a 350. what are the deliverables, or what access do you get to him?
What's really interesting, the 350 is 1 day with him.
1 day. Okay.
1 day with him. And you get to go in his private jet to wherever he goes. But I will say what's crazy is what made us earn it back was actually not what we learned necessarily from Myron. It was just being in the room with everybody else. Thing. With everybody else. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how many people were you with?
So the $350 room, which first of all, I walked in and I was like, wait, there's a lot of people in here. Like, this is a thing that people, it blew.
You were like, this many people?
I was like, what? So it was probably like 12 or 13 or something, which to me, I was like, what? How are 13? How is this possible? And now I like know them and love them. I'm like, oh, those are my people. And then there's a mastermind, which probably has a couple hundred. That's a $55,000 offer. But just being in the room and hearing the buzz of what people were doing, I was like, so I learned about challenges.
Okay.
And I hadn't even had a chance to open up the membership portal yet because we bought it and got on the plane. Yeah. And people were buzzing about challenges. I was like, oh, I know I was in Myron's challenge, but I didn't realize that that's what all of y'all do. So I opened up the portal. I was like, oh, this is like the thing. You like do a challenge. So while we were at the mastermind, I talked to the team and I said, hey, we're doing one next week. Yeah. And I was like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. And that's, we made a new offer and just implemented.
This is cool. So what was the offer before?
So the offer is the same. It's just repackaged, basically. So it's called School of Sales. Okay. And what's wild is, so just really quick back to the story. So my life like turned around when I learned these skills. And I went to my dad and I said, hey, we're about to teach this. And that's when I found online courses and online marketing.
And this is what year?
2018.
Okay.
But I think most people, they find online courses and they're like, let me think of something to make on a course. But I like had this gold mind. I was like, we can deliver this in an amazing way. And so we spent a year organizing those daggum spreadsheets. Okay. They were insane. Yeah. And we made our training and we taught it live probably 50 times, probably 3 times a month. And the training's like, it's thick. Yeah. She's thick. But I would do it in person once a month, online once a month, and then I would do it for corporate people about once a month, and it takes about 8 weeks. So every time we did it, we refined it, we iterated it, we changed it, we tweaked it. So it has become this transformative experience. And we did it like in an 8-week program, which worked well. What I found is that people really needed time to iterate and practice themselves. Learning the skill is one thing, but
implementing what you've learned,
So what I've realized is like there's a difference between learning and mastering. The point of learning is to master. And unless you can do something as effortlessly and elegantly as tying your shoes, it's not mastered yet. Wow. And so you need more than 8 weeks to master something. And mastery is where Salesgirls are come alive, is because they have mastered something. And it's something that they can't even go back to not doing because they do it so well. Wow. And that's where we tweaked the program to be Sales Mastery Bootcamp, because it is the mastery of it. And it's actually a year-long program now. Okay. Yeah, so we tweaked the framing and there's different phases of coaching now. Yeah. The material will always be at its core the same, but we do also offer like a live event, Sales Mastery Live, to get that iteration. What we found is that we went through all of our past students. We've had thousands of students, and seen who was like the best of the best and what did they do. Yeah. All of them came to a 3-day event, like our in-person events, because we have a studio and a workshop place and all of that. And so we're like, okay, that's going to be a part of every person. Like, it's not an add-on, it's a mandatory thing.
I love that.
So that's been added too.
Because it's so powerful when you're in
Immersion
person.
Changes your brain. Immersive experiences changes your brain from the inside out. Yeah, changes you. You have to do it. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's wild.
This is so good. So you can what's the lowest way of entry to get
the challenge?
The challenge, and that's how much?
It's $297 for VIP and $97. Okay.
And how frequently do you do these?
About once a month.
Because these are live.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I love them. I live for these things. But like we have like our summit in June, and I'm speaking a lot in May, so it kind of just depends.
So, but then there's summit, and then there's the mastery.
Yes, Sales Mastery Bootcamp is the program. That's $20,000. Okay. For now.
So, and that's for the full year.
That's for the full year. Yeah.
And they get the 3-day as part of that.
Oh yeah.
But how frequently is that? Like, do you
So
have to
right
do
now
those?
it's like September 17th through the 19th.
Okay.
And so what's cool is the coaching starts right away.
Mm-hmm.
So you start your so like if you were to join right now, you have about 6, like an Oreo situation. You got 6 months, you got the event, and then another 6 months.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful
And
combination.
it's all in Atlanta. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. This is cool.
Yeah. And then we have our inner circle, and then we have VIP offer as well.
Okay. What's the inner circle?
Inner circle is called the Salesgirl Inner Circle.
Okay.
And it's really geared towards helping women sell publicly.
Okay.
So unless you can sell one-on-one, it's really hard to sell publicly, in my opinion. And there are so many elements that you can get up on a virtual stage or actual stage to really turn it on. And also just have you done like a launch week before, like a sales week, open cart, closed cart situation?
Well, this is all really fascinating to me because we have our offer that we're just selling all the time, right? But then we've just recently started to do these challenges.
Oh, yeah. Or game changer.
Virtual workshops. We don't call them challenges, but I think it's
you should
very
call
similar.
it a challenge.
Okay.
So because challenge, so the word challenge actually means duel.
Okay.
Okay. And if you think about a duel, it's a duel between your current identity and your future identity. Yeah. And a challenge, you are challenged to take different action. Uh-huh. And when you're challenged to take different action, these two identities are like, wait, this is who I am. Yes. You're like, no, this is who I am. And if you out-action this identity, you become someone totally different. And so that's why in our in the last challenge, someone had a $12,000 sale because of the actions that she was challenged to do in the challenge. So a workshop is good. It's just more of like a delivery thing, versus the challenge is like, no, everybody, like get in, we're going. Like you're going to learn, and I'm going to challenge you to do something based on what you've learned. Yeah. So they get results. People get results like crazy in this challenge, and then it's a no-brainer to join the program.
I'm like joining. Oh, I'm like, sign me up. Where do we go?
And I open up and I'm like, hey, you're about to learn something. Right. You're about to get results, and I am going to sell you an offer. Like it's not an either or.
Energy is, which I think is part of it. I'm sure you teach that too, but like the way you speak about it.
Oh yeah,
so,
I'm certain. I am like, no one could question me on what my belief about sales skills, because I've sold it so much.
So what do you say to the girl that's selling something that maybe she doesn't really believe in? You know, maybe she's doing high ticket sales and she's like, I don't know. Like,
is it her own offer or if it's someone
it's
else's
not
offer?
Her own
oh, okay.
offer.
Yeah.
So, what would you say in that situation?
Yeah, it's a good question. Is there something you're thinking about right now?
Well, I've heard this before, like where, I was in, so Kayla Hodges, I was in her sales training.
Cool.
And so a lot of women, and they're speaking about their different things that they sell.
Yeah.
And, and then sometimes there's just something where, you maybe like most of it, most of the offer you think is great, but there's just some of it that you're not 100% sold on. But that's, you're still selling for this,
Yeah. There's like so many other questions I could ask for specifics, but in general, here's what I can say about getting so most people, they get sold on their offer. They have this this epiphany moment, and they're like, oh, this is game changing. And someone who's selling someone else's offer, when they've agreed to sell it, they probably had a little bit of a moment where they're like, oh yeah, I could sell that. Yeah. Right. You're like, yeah. Oh, no problem. But you don't even really start to doubt until you start to sell it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if you've experienced that. I know I definitely did. I was like, oh, I have something amazing. And then I started to sell it, and then people give me objections. Okay. And they doubt me. Yes. And they doubt what I offer. And then I'm like, wait.
So then you
do I need to doubt my wait. Okay. So you start to wonder.
Yes.
So these people could be getting some objections.
Yes.
Could be getting some pushback, and they're like, wait, are they right? Am I right? What's going on here?
Right.
And the best thing that you can do, and the best way to get certain, is to get sold. And the best way to get sold is to sell. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to think about their payoff and their future.
Okay.
So when you think about not what they have to do, but what they get out of what they do, you really start to think about the person and the possibility that their future will hold, and you get excited for them.
Right.
So what most people do is they're always like advising and educating. Here's what you do. And they're thinking about their offer a lot,
right? Instead of the transformation.
Exactly. And so what you just said is they don't like a few things about the offer. So they're thinking about the offer itself. And the biggest problem that people have is actually talking about the offer way too much.
Right.
It is not about the offer.
Right.
It's actually never about the offer.
Yeah.
Ever. And the more that you think about the offer, the more that you like fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I hate it when people go into this but this offer creation cave, because they think about the offer so much, and then they love it so much, and then they talk about the offer so much.
Right.
And nobody cares about the offer.
Yeah.
They care about what they get out
Sure.
of the offer. So they can take their focus off of the offer and think about, okay, if they were to do this deliverable, if they were to take this action, what would that look like for their life? You can get pretty on board with someone making some money and being able to spend more time with their kids.
Yeah.
You can get excited about someone like slipping into a dress that they've never slipped into before.
Yeah.
And get excited about the future that is on the other side of that offer,
Right.
and get sold like for the person, not necessarily for the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what my favorite thing to do is to handle objections. Absolutely nothing will make me feel more certain than handling someone's objections. It is like the key to developing certainty, in my opinion.
So let's play around with that. Like, could we
okay.
do a little role play where I give you an objection, and then you tell me like what you would say?
Or if you wanted to handle objection, I could coach you. What would you rather do?
Well, I think I'd rather have.
Okay.
You know, let's just do some common ones.
Okay,
Some
cool.
basic objections.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I have to talk to my wife.
Yeah. For what offer? My offer?
Just any offer.
Well,
Or do
you have to know the
offer.
Yeah, you need to know the offer, and you need to
Okay.
know the person and the
Okay.
payoff that they desire.
So let's talk about your offer then.
Okay,
If
talk
they
about
say,
mine.
I need to talk to my husband.
Okay.
It's probably more likely, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I would always get clarifying questions.
Okay.
Always. Because the last thing you want to start doing is handling an objection that they don't actually have.
Okay.
But you're assuming that they have it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'd be like, okay, tell me a little bit more about what you're planning on talking about with him.
Okay. About what you're planning on talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So if I was like, well, you know, we do the civic purchase, so you know, I need to run it past him.
You need to run it past him. Okay, amazing. When is has there ever been a situation where he like isn't down with it and he is excited about it? Tell me a little bit more about y'all's past with investing.
Yeah. So he doesn't like to spend money.
What does he do? I always like to ask what people do.
Let's see, what would he do? Let's say he's a real estate investor.
Okay. So that's probably not true. That wouldn't make sense because
Yeah.
if someone's a real estate investor, they know the importance of risk.
That's true. So
So
say
usually the
let's
husband-
say he's a
Like a teacher or like something like that,
Yeah.
100%. So, you know, I usually say something like, hey, I like 100% understand. It is so important for couples to be on the same team. Just find a point of agreement because we can all agree with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
1,000,000%. And I can't coach him or talk to him right now, but here's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is that when you come to him with like so much belief, it will be really hard for him not to believe in you as well. So I want you to get sold in you and really talk to him like this is the answer.
Yeah.
'Cause I believe it is for you big
This
time.
is good. Yeah.
And,
This is really good.
and I would say something like, hey, when do you plan on talking to him? Maybe
Yeah.
she says, Friday night. I'd say, amazing. You know what? I will kind of keep an eye on my Instagram on Friday night. Please message me with any questions that he has. And in fact, if he wants to get on a call, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many calls
So you
I've gotten on with
schedule.
husbands.
You don't schedule it.
I don't schedule,
That-
but I will follow up like Saturday morning.
Okay, so I think that's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
Big takeaway.
Yeah.
Because I think the industry standard
To
or at least,
schedule. I mean,
yes.
listen,
Yeah.
I'm not above that. I 100% will.
Yeah.
Just depending
It depends
on
on the situation.
Depends
Like,
on the context.
yeah.
Depends on like you can just tell if they're fragile or
Absolutely. And
if they're
I
yeah.
think that sometimes
Yeah.
you need to make a judgment call
Oh,
there.
no
you know.
question. No question.
You know, I work with a lot of men here, and they're always, always be closing, always be
Yeah.
great kind of
Yeah.
mentality. But like
Listen.
sometimes
Right.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
For instance, today, like he was just saying upstairs.
Yeah.
I closed somebody today that I had pitched
Oh, yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
December. But
Listen.
we have maintained the relationship on Instagram,
So
right?
the worst, I don't love the word pitch because it makes it feel like you've one shot.
Yes.
One swing.
Right.
I much rather think about it like a process, not a
Totally.
pitch. And when people are so passionate, they have a hard time being patient. And I'm the same way. I
Yeah.
mean, when people tell me they like don't need to learn how to sell or they are good enough and they couldn't get better,
Yes.
I have to watch my face
Uh-huh.
where I'm not like, are you insane? Like I have to really watch my face and like be patient, meet them where they are and just know they're a little
Meet
bit
them where they
colder,
are, yeah.
a little colder and just walk with them across the process, whatever that looks like. But I'll follow up with them. I love to get on calls with husband. And a great thing about a challenge, I just had a challenge and someone said, I let him watch the coaching Macy did, and he was all on board after he watched the coaching. So just to demonstrate what they're about to learn, always the testimonials. I mean, I have so much evidence of testimonials I'll send all day long. I'm like, I'll create podcasts for husbands.
I love that.
And I'll say, hey, I'll send you this podcast and you can just send it to him. Yeah. Just anything I can do to be their salesperson for them. And just know that a no right now isn't a no forever.
Yeah, that's really good. So there's a lot of, I assume there's training within your training on the follow-up.
Follow-ups,
continuing the relationship.
The process, You know, the concept of following up is not hard. Like you just follow up with people.
Well,
it's the mental drama.
Right? Like you're just
a little bit. I mean, you want to move people. And sometimes relationship building can make you think, oh, let me ask about their dog. Let me ask about their family.
Right.
And
this was my issue in the beginning.
Yeah. You want them to know you, in my opinion, as someone to come do a job. Like that's kind of more my personality too. I really am here to serve you in a very specific way. I'm not gonna like go to dinner with you. I'm not gonna do our hair together. Like I'm here to coach you and to help you get the result that you want.
Right.
But the follow-up, it's just the mental drama that people have about it. What are they going to think about me? And what if I come off as pushy? And what if I come off as annoying? And just the belief that this is you helping them along the process.
Right.
Like I had a girl that I would follow up with for a year. And every time I always had context to follow up with. So the last conversation we had, it would be like, oh, I'm creating a new offer. I'm really busy. I'm not ready. So I'd be like, oh, okay, perfect. So the next time I followed up, it would be like, hey, tell me about your offer.
Right.
Not tell me about your husband. Tell me about your offer. How did it go? She'd tell me a little bit. It was very obvious that it was not a good time. And I'd say, hey, I'm going to follow up with you in a couple months. Yeah. Follow up again. So the sales process for her was long, but the conversations were short. And I knew exactly how to get her to the next step. And a lot. Okay, so for example, let's say you have a fitness coaching program. If someone were to say something like, I feel really vulnerable being in a group, talking about weight loss. I feel the follow up with that is helping them believe that this is a safe environment, not helping them buy. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like it's the next step of warming them up to the idea that this is a safe place where everybody's focused on the same thing. Yeah. And that's how you follow up with people is what is the next thing they need to believe in order to get closer to buying from you?
What is the next thing they need to believe?
Yeah. It's not always buy. Closer. It's just the next thing. Yeah.
I like that.
So that's whenever I have really my follow up list, I have the name and then I'm like, okay, what are they currently thinking? Like what's in the way and what is the thought that I can help replace to believe to get them moving?
So now when you do this on stage, right? So how do you, I guess, well, you don't say pitch, but you're kind of pitching, right? On stage?
So the pitch is a lot of content. I don't think it's like the offer stack. That's just me personally. Yeah. I think it's so much belief and identity content, like helping people believe in the identity that they could be. Yes. And I learned so much of this from Myron. Really not just the one thing I'm all about selling beliefs, but the biggest thing he has taught me is you can't put a new belief on top of an old belief. Okay. You have to obliterate the old beliefs to give them a new belief.
Okay. So how do we do that?
And like you really have to open up with, hey, a lot of you are here because you are not in a financial place that you desire to be in. Your business is not here. Yeah. Is it fair to agree that what got you here is not going to get you there? Sure. Yeah. We can all agree with that, right? And so would you be willing to obliterate some of the current beliefs that you currently have that are keeping you from getting to where you want to go? Yeah. And then the whole time I will like call out specific beliefs all day long that I know, but I know these from conversations. Sure. Yeah. Like you can't, that's why I'm saying like you can't sell publicly until you know inside and out.
Tell me those beliefs that in your world.
Like working harder. Yes. Is going to give you the answer that, like learning is good enough, not mastery. See what happens.
Yeah, that is good.
Most people, they're investing so much and they're so frustrated by things not working. And in my opinion, it's because they've learned it, not mastered the information.
I completely agree. Yeah. Especially in this
in world,
people will invest in events. They'll get coaching programs. They'll
all day
do this,
long.
That, and then they're like, "Why am I still where I'm at?"
Oh yeah, but they're stacking lack of mastery on top of lack of mastery on top of lack of mastery, and it is crushing them. It is crushing them.
Yeah,
and really making them hopefully question: have I really even tried to master anything? Because if you think about like Simone Biles.
Yeah.
The only reason she can do what she can do is because she spent the time to master it, and we haven't. That is the only difference. That's it. Yeah. Like, what if you just committed to something and be like, you know what, I'm not going to let up until I master this. If you can believe that, your life will change. Yeah. I think also believing that they can't afford something. Yes. That's a big one. That makes me sick, because people think that they can't afford something.
I actually tell my daughters that we do not say we can't afford this.
It's good.
Because they don't want that implanted in their, I don't want that to be a part of their identity. That's how I grew up, right? We can't afford that. You know? But that's terrible, right? If that sits in there in your subconscious, because that's always the belief.
Oh my gosh.
So okay, what do you say to
you can't afford it?
Yeah.
Well, I love to talk about some scripture.
Oh, okay.
The widow. It's 2 Kings. Gosh, I can't even remember now. 2 Kings, but it talks about the widow and how they the creditor. Gosh, now I can't remember. I usually have my notes, but the creditor tells her to basically go borrow.
Okay.
He tells her to go sell what you have.
Okay.
Go pay your debt and to live on the rest. Like, that is the order in which you create wealth.
Okay.
And I just like to try to pull out, and honestly, like, Kate, if you were to drive through Vegas right now and look at all these buildings, like, tell me one of these huge businesses that says debt is bad.
Debt is bad.
That debt is bad. Right. They would not tell you that.
Right.
Like, there's not a single major huge business that says debt is bad. Not one of them. They all leverage it.
Sure.
So, like, on what planet, on what universe do people think that they're the exception? That, like, I don't understand. Like, that is the formula to go borrow, go sell, pay your debt, live on the rest.
Right.
Live in abundance on the rest. And I've borrowed, the times that I've borrowed money has been the times that my back has been against the wall and has made me meet myself in a way that I
would agree with that completely.
I mean, the first time I borrowed $8,000 and it about shook me to my core, because in that moment I was like, oh my gosh, $8,000. And I made it back like that. Right. $350,000. It's like, oh my gosh, like, wake up. $350,000. You better
that one will wake you up.
You better get it. And then I learned the skill to be able to make it back, and now I have the skill forever. You know? So I want to hear about your
That's crazy.
Because you said that it made you put your back against the wall too.
For me, it was the first one was like, it was like $1,500, right? It was an online course. Yeah. It wasn't even like.
And it shook you, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it shook me.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I was making monthly payments, right? Like it was. Yeah. And I say that now, I'm like, wow, Yeah. But that was the stepping stone. Yeah. Right? To the next one. Yeah. And then it's like, then you're, $5,000 for this program, no problem. $75 for this one, no problem. Yeah. And it just keeps going up and up and up, right? Yeah. Like $350, that would scare me though, right now, for sure. Like, it was even $55, honestly.
Oh, yeah. It's 100%. Like, it's all important and a big deal. But I will tell you, the money that you pay to get in the rooms is worth every cent and then some.
I think what you said too, even about Myron, and getting in the rooms.
Oh, like, my gosh.
It's not about all these like deliverables at the, that's not what it is.
Can I tell you the craziest thing about these people? Yeah. I mean, these people are doing like $9 million days. They're doing like $30 million years, $9 million days. That watching their demeanor has changed my brain chemistry forever. Wow. Wouldn't you think that someone who makes that kind of money would be stressed?
You would think, yeah.
They are not. They are not. They are having so much fun. Nothing's a big deal. They're light. They're on their toes. They're laughing. They're, I can do this. No problem, no problem. They're just like always ready, saying yes to every opportunity. And I'm watching them like they're a movie star. Because I'm like, oh my gosh. And so what's been so cool is really thinking about their demeanor and like me thinking about, okay, how can I emulate that? Because you think when I make that kind of money, I'll be like that. You actually have to be like that to make that type of money.
You have to become.
You have to be her first before it comes.
Yes.
And so that has been my mission is like, okay, like on the plane on the way here, I was like, okay, who is she? Like, what is she? How does she act? How does she walk? How does she talk? She's casual. She's fun. She's light. Yeah. She's serious. She's intentional. She knows, you know, just really thinking through that has been, and having that as a reference point as I think through it, game changing.
So that makes me think, this is a common question for women in sales. So we tend to be friendlier, right? Like, you're a very bubbly, friendly, warm person, even though you like are very intentional and, you know, mean business. What do you say to the woman that, because there's some messaging out there that's like, you can't smile, right?
Who says that?
Well, that's Kayla Hodges.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially when you have a man on the other end, because then he will not respect you, right? Like, or take you seriously, I should say. So she just says they have to earn your smile is kind of, that's the teaching in her program. Yeah. So for me, that's always been, I always battle this, right? Because I'm like, okay, my unique ability to connect with people is being myself, right? And being friendly. And that is genuinely who I am all the time. It's not a sales thing. That's just me, right?
100%, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I have to be myself. But then how do I demand...
like command the room.
Command the room, yeah. So what do you tell your girls?
You know, I honestly don't think a lot about being a woman.
Okay.
I am the sales girl and I teach a lot of women, but I don't really make it a thing in my mind. Okay. Maybe other people make it a thing and they're like, oh, this is one. But I mean, my husband's in business and he's in sales, and not one, like, is he ever like, oh, she's a woman, like I don't respect her, and that's just not the world that I choose to believe.
I love that
is a thing. Maybe it is, but is it helpful for me to believe that, or is it helpful for me to believe that it's irrelevant? And I don't really want people to buy from me because I'm a woman and they like want to support women. I want them to buy from me because I'm the best,
right? Period.
So that's how I think about it. And when I'm friendly and warm, I like want people to open up.
Yes,
I'm trying to get as much information as I possibly can.
Right.
Because a sales message is, the way I like to think about it is, you know, Chopped. Have you ever seen Chopped, the show?
No.
So
but I'm gonna go watch
all these. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but all these chefs get these baskets, and they're like, open your baskets, and it's all these random ingredients, and they're like, okay, you have to cook a meal in 30 minutes. Ready, set, go. And it's like orange juice and dog food. It's like random ingredients, right? So when people are giving you information, that's like ingredients that you get to make a custom meal for them based on what they tell you. And the more ingredients I can get, the better. Like knowing who your kids are and knowing what you did this weekend. And like, I want to know all that. That helps me know what you value. Right. How can my offer make what you value so much better? Okay. That's what I want to know. Yeah. So I'm just trying to imagine if I'm like cold stoned, I don't know if I would want to open up to me. Right. Maybe I would. I'm not really sure. But that's just my thought. I think that's a good perspective. I think that there's a way to be certain, because you're certain, but I'm also warm, right? So there's a way to be certain and warm and loving. Yeah.
Well, and to be yourself.
And the thing is, the thing with women is typically, I don't even know if this is totally true, but I do think in sales conversations, people are more likely to open up to women.
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't you just leverage the heck out of that versus fight against it? Right. You know what I mean? Trying to like be the man, just like be her. Yeah. You know?
No, I do think that is an advantage for sure. I think probably the missing link, or the area that I guess I would need to master as I'm listening to you, is the certainty. You know?
Okay, what are you not certain of?
What is your offer? I think it's a perspective shift. As like I'm having this moment where, let me get some of my water.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm hearing you speak. So our 25K offer. Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Let me not talk about that one for a minute, because let's talk about this other offer that I've been working on, which is our one-on-one with Ryan. Okay. Now, obviously, that's not for everyone, because that one's $100K for the year. We don't really advertise
one-on-one with him. How often?
Once a month for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the phone or here? Or?
You can come in person or on the phone.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
or on Zoom. And really, the value in that is the access to him and then
crazy.
the people, right, that you meet, and by having that kind of access, and then what you learn from all of them, right? And just, but I guess maybe in my mind, as I'm listening to you, maybe that was, I was so focused on the deliverables that I'm like, okay, how do I piece these together?
So let me think of one person that would be a good fit for that offer.
Yeah.
Can you think of one person?
Yeah.
Okay. What would be in it for them to do that?
So, well, I actually did sell one recently.
Way to go.
Thank you. And they have really a unique business. So it's a window tinting company.
Brilliant with real estate.
They've done really well here locally. And now they want to create an education program and go, all over and help these other businesses.
Yeah.
And they have really gained traction with their podcast. So we helped them with that. And anyway, so now they need to expand, right? Especially like with the digital marketing. Like they don't know anything about that.
Right.
They know how to build what they've built here.
Yeah.
But so having somebody to guide them and then also connect them with the right people.
Okay. So you can have one-on-one with him for
beneficial.
anything, for either real estate or
Anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's in it for them?
So to me, I guess that was what I thought is the connections and the guidance from somebody that's done it and knows how to do it really well.
Yeah. Okay. So, but think about like really how that tangibly would show up in their life, like tangibly. Like really.
So they
think
would
about that.
have to. So right now they work a lot of hours.
Okay.
Right. If they were able, or when I should say, they're able to build this, it's more money, right, for them and their family. Their family business too.
Okay.
That's another, I guess, important
So they're like building a legacy here.
Yes.
Okay.
And they want to be able to take care of the mom and dad that started the business.
Huge. Okay.
I mean, the dad, like he has been, I think he started it when he was like 18.
Wow.
And now he's in his 60s. And so, and these are brothers. They're brothers that are, that I sold the offer to. And so yeah, it's really a big.
So this is like a reputation that they're building here.
Yes.
This is something that they will pass down for generations and generations. Yes. And this is something that, oh my gosh, that is amazing. So like really think about the way that like these brothers will be able to make their dad proud. Yeah. Think about like the way these brothers are going to be able to raise their kids through like the reason people don't keep money that they were given from like generational things is because they were the ones that earn it. They haven't become the person to be able to keep the money. Yeah. So to have a business to not only raise kids in it, they're going to have money, but also develop them as people to be able to keep the money. I mean, there are so many like tangible lanes in which this would play out for them. And that's what I would just encourage you to think about.
No, that's really good.
Like, know those kids' names.
Yes.
Know, like, the fact that you knew he was 18 years old, know the relationship with them. Yeah. And just be so, you have to believe the result will happen for them more than they do. You have to. You have to be certain for it. And I will tell you, like, the thing about investing, I mean, when I walked into that room with all those people who spent $350,000, I remember thinking, wow, Myron didn't need my money. Like, he did not need that, but I needed to wire that money. Like, I needed to do that. That day I wired the money, I will never forget that his thing is called like Skillionaire Enterprises. And the guy wiring, he was like, are you sure this is where it goes? Like, Skillionaire. I'm like, yeah. Like, to verbally be like, yes, 350. Like, it just changed me. And I'm so glad that I had that experience. And so when I'm like taking people's money, I'm like, you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome for this experience. I've given my offer away to 2 people for free in my lifetime. This was years ago.
What happened with that?
Those are the only 2 people that have never logged in. They've never even opened their portal. And when I realized that was the case, I said, I will never, ever, ever give it away for free. I love people too much for them not to take this seriously. Wow. And so the more that people are spending like that, the more they are about to like buck up in the best way. Yeah. And I want you to be so excited for them to write that check because it's going to change them forever.
Wow.
So I want you to like think about, I'm pulling for them to make this decision because of who they will become from writing that check and the way they will pay attention like never before.
Right.
And they will implement like never before. Like that is got to be what you have to be thinking.
That is true.
When you're talking to them. That's where the certainty comes in. And I will say, since I've spent $1 million on a coaching program, I feel really confident in talking someone through an investment.
Right.
Like
I done confident at this point.
I done been there. Like I know exactly what you're going through. So if people are unable to charge a high ticket offer because they're unwilling to pay it themselves.
Interesting. Yeah.
They have to be willing to pay up to be able to charge. They have to. Yeah. So
that's good.
I don't know, girl.
That is
you got to
really
pay
good.
up somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
It just depends. It depends on so many things. But if you are trying to grow your confidence, like spending money in the right places.
Yes.
And I say that, 6 months ago, I could never sit here and say that.
Yeah. So, okay.
Today, I can.
and this was, so it was August you purchased
August, I found him on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had known about him.
I literally found him in August.
Wow.
I was so immediately drawn to him. He's my first coach.
I think he is incredible too.
Yeah.
When I saw him at Funnel Hacking Live, I was like, wow.
Immediately. But I didn't even know. But like, I've never been at Funnel Hacking Live. I've never seen him. Like, I've really stayed in my own little world for a long time. It's probably one of my biggest regrets. I don't have many regrets.
Yeah.
And I like to think of it as like I wasn't ready to be in those circles. And now I feel like so ready and I can run with them and I can like keep up a little bit because they talk about some high level stuff here, you know. But I wish I did it sooner.
That is just amazing.
But you're in the circles too. Like, you know the power of being in the right room.
I do.
You've seen it.
I have seen it. But, I mean, not at that level. I haven't been in a room.
Yeah, you have.
Well, not where it's all people that are paying $350,000, right? And that's, like, what you're focus
and
is.
you know what's really cool is like the girl in the 350,000 group that makes the most money. I mean, she's the one that's the most like, I have so much to learn. Like, she's the one who like sits in front every single time. She's the one who's like, I'm militant to Myron, whatever he says, I do. So it's just really cool to see the people that just kill it the most are just hungry, man. They are so hungry.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
So that was you found him in August. You started in October then, right? Okay, and now here we are. May. 6 months, 7 months later. Yeah. And you have a podcast too, right? So you've been creating content. You have the podcast.
Yeah.
I think when we started, I was asking about your dad and then Kat. But how did Kat come in?
Yeah. So Kat was in our. So we used to do something called cohorts. She was in our second cohort ever. Okay. Yeah. And she had a 3-week-old when she signed up. Okay. And after she did that, it was like a 6-week training at the time. But she said, I will never not do this. And ever since then, she signed up for every single round. Yeah. She would come to every single in-person. Wow. She would sit at the front. And she got to a point where she just like kept raising her hand to like add things. And I was kind of joking. I was like, do you just want to like come up here? Because it was so good what she was saying. And then I was like, hey, do you want to help me teach? This is a lot of content. And for a year, I like to say we dated for a year. And it just got to a point where I was like, girl, you are too valuable to not be a part of this. Wow. And we got married, as we like to say, in like 2019. Okay. And if someone were to ask me what is like the one thing that changed the game the fastest, it was her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
she's
really cool.
Brilliant. And I don't know if you know this, but we have like the same exact birthday. Do you know this? May 30th, 1992, same day. Oh, we got married the same exact day. The day before our birthday, same day, same year. Born in the same hospital. Our social security numbers are like 1 digit off.
That is insane.
Both moms named Linda. I mean, our lives are...
That is wild.
Wild. Wow. We're life twins, majorly.
I have chills. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So like we have, people are like, how do you work together so well? I mean, our values are just the exact...
Just meant to be.
I know
like
what she's thinking.
Soul sisters.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you believe in that kind of thing.
Big time, yeah.
That is remarkable.
It's wild, yeah. So she's got a little 3-week-old, and she brought her here to Vegas.
Wow. So she has 2, right?
3. This is her 3rd.
3. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you have 2. 3. You said 3 and 1.
3 and 1.
Which is wild. So you've done all of this. You built this massive business, right? Like, and started a family.
Yeah.
So when people say they don't have time and all of this,
oh my gosh,
what do you say to that?
I just wrote a bunch of content on mom and entrepreneurship. because Mother's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
And if there's one person that felt sick to her stomach about the idea of even working with kids, I could not wrap my mind around it. I feel like I almost put the brakes on the business before I had kids because I was so scared that I would build it to something that I couldn't like let go of, and I was gonna have kids, and I was gonna have to pick, and I wouldn't know what to do, and then I would wait to have kids because what about this? So, I'm sure you probably relate to that as well a little bit. Your kids are older, so I know you just have so much like experience and wisdom, but my thoughts about motherhood and entrepreneurship has done a 180 completely. Ed Milet says the most insidious form of child neglect is parents that don't pursue their potential.
I 100% agree.
And like insidious means like sneaky and indirect.
Yeah.
And I think, I've been thinking so much about this. I'm like, okay, why do I agree with that? And I think it's because the sneaky thought is, okay, if I put my dreams aside, I can be more available for my kids. But the version of you that's available is not the highest potential that your kids need.
Yes, right.
Like, I think about the day that my kid Rush is going to fail over and over and over again, and I'm going to look at him and be like, I know exactly what you feel like.
Right.
Like, I've been told no 100 times. Like, I know what the rejection feels like, and, like, I can, like, coach you in it.
Well, and
you know?
You have a mindset that will encourage failure.
Oh,
where
no question.
that,
and I just want to look at my kids and tell them that they can be anything and do anything.
Me too.
They look at me and they're like, yeah, she means it because she's being something and doing something, you know? And I think it matters like that you have that drive in your heart, that desire in your heart.
Yeah.
If that's not there, that's a different story. Like your desire is to be doing what you're doing. But if there's a desire and you're neglecting it, that's where I think it's like a problem.
I do too.
And I just like, there's scripture that says, a poor man's wisdom is despised.
Yeah. Ryan talks about this actually.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so I'm going to like have all this wisdom from all this hard work and all this effort, and I'm going to have no money. Like if you don't sell, right? If you're just like helping, you don't sell. You don't sell, you don't have any money, and so now your kids like don't think that you know anything because you don't have any money. Like that is my drive to have a bunch of money. Yeah. Because I want my kids to need me more as they get older, not less. Yeah. I want them to call me when they're 30 years old going to their job interview and say, Mom, can you coach me?
Right.
And then call.
You did with your dad.
100%. And then call me and say, Mom, I got the job. Meet me at Brooks Brothers. Like, let's go get a suit. That is the vision that I see for my life. And I just want moms to be somebody that their kids are like, my mom is legit. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know what This Naked Mind is? It's Annie Grace is the author. It's a book about alcohol, and she's incredible. She's in Myron's VIP. Okay. And her book has sold over 1 million copies, like organically. Like it just has spread like wildfire. And she actually brought her son to one of the masterminds, which a lot of these people bring their kids, by the way.
I've been seeing that at
the coolest thing ever. And he's like 15 years old, and I had him kind of alone one time. She went to the bathroom, and I was like, Turner, what do you think about your mom? He was like, oh, she's so legit. And I'm just like, what 15-year-old boy would ever call their mom legit like that? He was like, she's incredible. She's so cool. Wow. She's so legit. Like, I'm like, do your friends like know who she? I mean, she's low-key famous in this world. So what's the book? It's called This Naked Mind. And it's all about how to live an alcohol-free life. It is so good. We did a little work with her.
Okay, I need to read this. So I don't drink alcohol. And
because of her, I don't either.
Really?
It's changed my life. You need to read it. You would love it.
Okay. Because, that's been, I guess I'm coming up on almost 2 years now. Yeah. But that has been a big thing with my content. It was surprising.
About alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
I started sharing about sobriety.
Yes.
So Justin Berry, who is, Ryan's head producer. Okay. And the head of Wealthy Creator, encouraged me to do that. And I'm like, no, Justin, like they want to hear about personal branding, right?
It's a world.
Silly to think that when I coach my students otherwise, but it's always harder for yourself. Right. So I started sharing about it, and sure enough, content did very well. And I got a lot of questions. Some people stopped drinking.
I'm telling you what.
I mean, it's been pretty crazy.
So Annie actually certifies coaches to be alcohol-free coaches. Wow. And we actually have a lot of alcohol-free coaches in our program. Yeah. So it's a whole world that I didn't even know existed. I'm not even a drinker. I'd maybe have a margarita like every other Friday, maybe. But I read this book. Yeah. changed
what was
my life. So
thing?
I was reading it, and every time and the only reason I read it is because we were going to work with her and train her coaches. So I was like, I need to know what's going on. And every time I read a chapter, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But then there was one sentence that said, alcohol stays in your brain and your body for up to 10 days. Wow. And I was like, okay, so I can make $350,000 in a week, and I'm willing to sacrifice my clarity and my mental sharpness for a margarita on every other Friday. Right. I'm like, it's a no for me. I refuse to be even remotely foggy at any point. And ever since then, I was like, no. And then my husband, I mean, he would have a drink, every Friday night. And I never was like, you need it. I just was like, you're on your journey, I'm on mine. Right. He ended up picking up the book, and he's like, how do I not even want this anymore? He's like, we go to football games and all this stuff. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't even want this. I'm like, yeah, I know. Wow. And the first thing she says in the book is, don't try to stop drinking while you read this. And something about that makes you be like, no, I am going to try to stop. Like, it's such a gentle approach to slowly rewiring your brain. She talks about how animals will know something is poisonous by the way it smells and tastes. And alcohol is like poisonous, and it smells terrible and it tastes terrible, but we add sugar, and the sugar is actually what makes us feel good. The dopamine is and she talks about all these tests about how people feel the best when they like see the drink coming before they even take the sip. Wow. It's like the anticipation of it more than the actual drink itself. It is fascinating. Yeah. So read the book.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna read it.
And keep talking about it. Wow. Seriously, because it is something that people probably struggle with in silence, and they don't think it's a problem, but it might be a little bit of a problem, and they don't realize how much they're sacrificing.
Totally, and even just like how you said, it stays in your system for 10 days, because there's different. I think that there's levels, right? And people will say, well, I don't have a problem, right? Like, but maybe they're drinking 3 times a week or something, and they don't feel as clear, or maybe they're gained weight, and so they don't feel as there's all these things. But if they, in their mind, have said, oh, it's not a problem until it's really affecting your relationships or whatever. Yeah. But that's not true. Like your life can be better.
100%.
No matter where you're at and what level. So
absolutely.
Okay, I want to just talk about content for a bit here.
Let's talk about it.
And then we'll, wrap up. But so tell me about once you shifted with you started working with your dad and changed your messaging. What was the biggest thing that you did with the content, like short form content?
Well, I loved selling on Instagram stories.
Okay.
Because it was such a low risk environment. Went away in 24 hours and you could get quick responses to see if it was hitting for people. Okay. And that whole year that we were putting the training together, every day I sold the beliefs that people needed to believe in order to buy from me. I didn't sell the offer, I sold the beliefs. And that was the biggest transition. And one of the beliefs I wanted people to believe was sales skills are life skills. Okay. No matter if you're a mom, no matter if you're a service provider, no matter if you're a, content, like whatever you do, typically your goal is to help people to take action. Even your kids, like you want them to take an action that's best for them, right? And ideally you want them to decide to do it on their own. That's the greatest salesperson of all. And so for a year, my content was constantly building the case of helping people believe that they were in sales no matter what they did.
I love that.
And I swear.
Which is so true.
Yeah. It's almost like a campaign. Like on election day, you don't decide who you're going to vote for on the way, right? Sure. You decided a long time ago. And then the candidates, their work is done on election day. They're like at home waiting on the results. And I think a lot of people, they go to this launch day as their election day and they're like, oh, now's the time to work. Right. And I'm like, no. Election day should be like collection day where you just collect all the sales that people already decided a long time ago. That's good. And so the first time we launched, I think it was like a $20,000 launch which blew my mind. I mean, I was selling products that were like $10 commission. So to have it, I was like, what? But that is what happened, is selling people in the beliefs. They made the decision. And then when it was time to take the offer, it was like, oh, I already decided. I'm just taking the action to confirm the decision. Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing people miss, is because beliefs can be a little controversial, and that's what you need, actually, is a little polarizing, because you can't have love without a little bit of, I don't want to say hate, but like kind of, So can you give me an example of a story that you would,
share or something you would say on
Yeah.
stories?
I mean, I just shared a reel today. It was a remix of someone who just sold their $100 million piece of their company. And they said, what's the one biggest advice you would give? And he said, sell it and then figure it out.
Okay.
Like my kind of case that I'm proving right now is that you have to sell so that you know what to work on. Don't work so that you know what to sell.
Okay, that's good.
So that was just proving a little case right there.
Yeah.
Another example is, people think of salespeople as being like the bad sales experience. But what they don't realize is they're having amazing experiences all day long, but they just think that they're good people. So for example, the dentist that sold my dad on flossing every day, not just, hey, you should floss and here's why, but sold him to do it every single day is the very thing that saved his heart health, that now he's like an amazing grandfather, like the person who sold prom dresses to, my sister-in-law's, like helping her feel confident enough to actually go to prom, like that was a sales job. But people walk away and they're like, oh, that lady was so nice. Like, no, that was an amazing sales experience and you don't even realize that you had one. That dentist was such a good dentist. Like, no, she sold the value of flossing every day.
So how did she do that? Because that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone says floss.
Yeah, so people say, there's one way that's like, you should floss 2 times a day. This is really important because of the plaque and the plaque. Right? And it's like, so what's great about it is like I talk about the ingredients. So let's think about the ingredients she might have gotten from my dad. She probably saw some situations going, probably asked about how much he flossed, and she probably asked him about his heart health because the heart and the mouth are super connected. And
so I actually didn't know that.
Oh
The
yeah,
heart and mouth are super connected.
Oh yeah, like heart problems a lot of times come from like gum problems.
Wow.
Yeah. And most people don't know that.
I didn't.
And he actually did have a couple of heart things go on. And I am assuming that the dentist probably said, hey, when you floss, like your gums are a huge indication of your whole body health. And when you do it,
Look at me. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. So now you're probably gonna floss a lot more now, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just started to like up my flossing game.
Yeah. And so the dentist probably said something like, when you do this, you'll be able to like roll on the ground with your grandkids for decades to come.
Wow.
And that's that payoff, that future, offering someone their future, not like, hey, your gums will be healthy.
Yeah.
No one wants to think about their gums. No. What they do want to think about is being the grandparent that they desire to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like such a good podcast. I'm thinking of a bunch of other podcasts that you need to be on now.
Oh,
in my
hook
mind,
me up.
I am going
sister.
to because this is so valuable.
You are an incredible question asker.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the best listeners I feel like I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
The reason I say that is your questions built on the last one.
Yeah.
So beautifully. The context that you had was just really impressive.
Well, I love this.
Yeah.
This is my favorite thing to do. Yeah. And I want to finish it with this too, because I've been thinking about this as you're telling me the story and about being a mom and a parent and the impact. So you grew up with this dad that was very, he had a lot of belief in you and himself, and which makes such a difference, right? And I had a dad like that too. It's crazy. I like all these similarities. So today, it's actually the day that my dad had a heart attack.
Oh, I'm sorry.
5 years ago, and instantly gone. 57 years old.
Oh man.
And I say that because I'm like, my dad was my biggest believer.
Yeah.
He gave me the book Think and Grow Rich when I was 10 years old. Like, got me to think differently, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up with my mom, so my parents were divorced, but my mom had just more limiting beliefs, right, about things. And of course, loves us and wants the best for us, but sometimes couldn't see the bigger ideas or vision. And my dad always could, so it was fun to be able to, hey, I want to go do this, and believe in you, right? That helps you because you want your parents' approval,
right?
So my question to you is for the people that have this desire, as you would say, right, to do more. Maybe the mom that wants to do more, but feels that if she did more, that would be taking from her being a good mother.
Yeah.
And maybe she even gets a little judgment from her parents, because that's their belief.
100%, yeah.
So if you don't have that parent that is your cheerleader and is rooting for you, what do you say to that person?
Yeah. I have struggled with this, like I said, long before I had kids. And do you know what Brooke Castillo is? She's runs the life coach school.
I saw her, I think, at Funnel Hacking Live.
She's incredible.
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
So someone asked Brooke, what if I neglect my kids, if I pursue my dreams? And she said something so simple. She said, just make this decision right now that you won't.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I remember listening to that and being like, is it that simple? She's like, just decide you will not neglect them, and then define what that means.
Yeah.
And then build your life around it. And so I did that exact thing. And so my definition is I'm with them in the morning and I take them to school. I do my work from about 8 to 2:30. I pick them up between 2:30 and 3, and I'm with them until bedtime. And that's just my day. And then if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. Or most of the time it gets done, it's just B minus work, and it's I got food in my teeth, and it's not edited just right, and it's kind of a mess, and there's typos, but it's done. That is my definition of this is how I do it. And if you can just make it, really is that simple. Yeah. Sometimes creating the story of what if is draining your energy so much rather than just deciding what it looks like and then just doing the work.
It's so good.
And people just drain their energy by regret and thinking about worst possible outcome. And I'm telling you, the future of your life only lives in your mind. And it takes just as much energy to think about worst case scenario as it does best case. Yeah. So why wouldn't you dream up best case scenario? Yeah. And I've just decided this is the life, this is the schedule, this is how it works. And I plan to homeschool and hire a teacher and bring them with me. And,
I love that.
Come to Vegas, come to the masterminds and do your work. That's my goal and my vision. Yeah. And I just can't wait to be the mom that is able to look at them and say, you can do anything and be anything.
That's so good. Yeah. I'm just I'm blown away. I absolutely love everything about you. I think you're literally changing lives.
Thank you.
This conversation is life-changing for me.
Thank you.
And I think that it's so important to hear this message. I mean, I hear this all the time. Now I'm a single mom, right? So I went from, having some help. Not that, he's still in their lives, but I'm a single mom. I work full time. I have 2 girls, and sometimes people will say to me, how do you do it all? Right. And I just say, well, I just do it. Yeah. Just do it. That's because you do. Right. And I love being a mom. Yeah. I'm so grateful that I am a mom, and I also love working.
Oh, me too.
And I can love both.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to pick.
And I'm telling you what, there's some stuff that I just don't worry about. Yeah. Laundry don't get folded every single day. Right. It is what it is. And I have an amazing nanny that helps, and I love on her and pay her as well as I can.
Exactly. And you just figure it out. And it's
day by day.
The content thing you said too, I think is good for people to hear. Just do it. Just post it. If it's not perfect, it's okay. Oh. You're not perfect.
Listen, if you're not embarrassed by the stuff that you posted, a few years ago, you're doing it wrong. It needs to be.
That's a good point.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So, and people appreciate, you being real.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why I started following you years ago, is I just felt like not talking to her. I'm talking to a friend, but I'm not talking to you. You're talking to me.
100%.
Right? Yeah. And that's exactly what you want.
Thanks, Kate. You're so sweet.
And now here we are. The universe just delivered.
That's right. You're really special. And this was so awesome. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for, doing this. And you're going to be on the Wealthy Business Podcast next.
Let's go.
And many more, because, now I'm just thinking of all these people.
That's amazing. Hook me up, Kate. Sounds good.